Hey guys, I am Caleb Giddings coming to you from the Taurus USA headquarters, where I've had to carefully crop my shot to make sure that there isn't anything in the background that you're not supposed to see yet.
And I'm
Y-
Keith Finch coming from my house where
As as
as
one does, and where
one
you've also
does.
had to carefully crop your shot to make it look like you're wearing clothes. Um,
Don't give that away. I stand up and that's the big reveal.
the big reveal, indeed. Well, more like the
I'm
medium
Irish. The
reveal,
the the respectably sized reveal.
the reveal that happened.
It was certainly a thing.
Well, that was a great way to start off this episode, which is brought to you by Taurus USA and Guns.com. Taurus USA, where affordable does not mean cheap, and Guns.com, where affordable means buy two. Uh, so here we go.
As you
All right,
should.
so this week we're talking about what's the best way to explain it? We're talking about things that people think are features that are actually bugs and how they arrived at that conclusion. And this was brought to you by a person in our comments who didn't understand how green tip works.
Yes, yes. I don't even remember. We went on a little side tangent. We've been on many tangents last week.
It is
But
what we
went
do.
on we did go on a side tangent about this here green tip round, M855, the good old SS-109. And someone helpfully in our comment section, and I'm not making fun of this guy because I kind of understand
I'll do that.
where you can, but I'm not making fun. Originally, I was going to. Then I thought about it. And I'm like, look, with the missing data, I can understand the conclusion. But he came into the comment section and said, hey, SS-109 was developed by FN for the Mini-Me, which a version of it is the M249 SAW. Another version is the M40 or the Mark 46 light machine gun. It's the 5.56 belt fed. It's FN's 5.56 belt fed.
Mhm.
But Green Tip was developed for the Mini-Me. It wasn't, but they were developed at the same time. So he goes, Green Tip was developed for the Mini-Me, and it is inaccurate on purpose so that your suppressing fire is better dispersed.
Right.
That
So
way
if you guys aren't
the enemy won't know where the next bullet is coming from.
Right. So if you guys aren't familiar, and some people are not familiar with how machine guns work, but the area in which the rounds from a machine gun land is referred to as the beaten zone, right? So if I fire a burst of 6 rounds from 249, those 6 rounds will land in a roughly conical pattern in what we call the beaten zone.
Mhm.
They do that because how machine gun do machine gun, right? Like if
They will do
you
that whether that gun is half minute of angle accurate or 3 minute of angle accurate.
Yeah.
Recoil will take care of that.
And you can create your own sort of beaten zone even with semi-automatic fire just by, aiming at your target and just pulling the trigger as fast as you can. It will
And
largely
Marine
have
Corps used that as the justification for why the M27 was going to work at the squad level. And they're not, while I can quibble about getting rid of belt feds in that regard, that's a whole other argument. They are also not wrong.
I'm
Someone,
certain that we
someone
have
very
done
accurately being able to put, 2 rounds a second or a round and a half a second into an area at any given effective range of that gun is pretty effective at suppressing that area.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that we've done like at least this tangent 6 or 7 times about how
Oh,
we both
100%.
agree that the Marine Corps backdooring their entire branch into getting suppressed M27s just as their standard issue rifle is the best
Yep.
fucking thing ever.
It's
Like,
the greatest. We totally didn't do that, guys.
yeah,
Quietly
it's
winks off camera. Yep.
we didn't do this on purpose, but we did, and now we have
Look at this
this.
crazy random happenstance. Ta-da! All right, but in short, guys,
Right.
the claimed feature is M855 is inaccurate on purpose to increase the size of the beaten zone. And machine guns don't need to do that.
No, they
Plain
do
and
again, they
simple,
do
they
it
don't
by
need to do
themselves.
that. They will get plenty of dispersion on their own. And the what essentially came about is, oh, green tip's inaccurate on purpose. Actually, no, it's not. It's inaccurate, unfortunately, due to um manufacturing, how you build this.
Yeah.
This is lead with a 7-grain steel tip that you got to put on top of it. You have to have a machine put it there, and then you have to jack it over it. And you can only do that so precisely.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they actually
M855
built
will
this to
never.
be more accurate than M193, which is just 55 grains of lead core in a jacket. But this is easier to make more consistent. So
Yeah. The idea for M855 was to be a more accurate round than the fifth.
M193.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, one M193. It didn't end up being that way, and especially part of it too is the we ended up, I think it also did suffer from an unfair comparison because the guns that most commonly shot M855 were 16 or 14.5-inch carbines or, 249s versus
Mm-hmm.
the guns that most commonly shot 193 were 20-inch muskets, which are just
Mm-hmm.
going to be more inherently accurate anyways.
You got
So,
a lot more barrel to keep that thing screaming downrange. But it's one of the reasons that we saw such a dramatic accuracy performance shift when we went to this guy,
uh,
M855A1. Good old
I
steel
wonder where
tip.
you got that from.
I don't know. It just appeared one day in my
It just
hand.
showed up in my house. It's the damnedest thing.
Crazy, right?
Man, it is.
Crazy. You're
It's
not
completely
supposed to
insane.
have this.
Yeah.
But
So,
since I'm not supposed to have this theoretical bullet that doesn't exist in the civilian market, this guy was much easier to make because this is solid copper with a steel tip. That's way easier to
mhm,
build, and it's way
yeah.
easier to build consistently. So the accuracy went up, and everyone's like, it's so much better. It's like, actually, you just did the thing that you were trying to do correct this time.
It's so much better. We made it useful. It's like the opposite of the "we have trained him wrong on purpose" meme. It's like, no, we
As a
made it
joke.
correct on purpose. What
All
an
right.
idea, guys.
So that is an example of knowledge of a feature that is in fact a bug. The bug is that you cannot place the steel tip inside green tip more than a certain level of accuracy, which makes it 2 to 4 minute ammo. There's no getting around.
Mhm.
There's 2 to 4 minute ammo. It's how
Oh
you
my God.
it's how you
4
have to
minutes of
form the
ammo.
jacket.
However, will I
That's
hit a
how it
man
goes.
sized target at 300 yards?
Oh no. So that it's an example. So we're going to go into a couple of other examples of features that are in fact bugs.
I'm gonna talk about one first. I got
Go
this. I
for it.
got this. And this is I'm gonna actually, because I happen to be standing in my office in Taurus, USA, I can bring out a thing that illustrates this. So on this wonderful and amazing, if you're watching the video feed, Taurus 692 executive grade, available with 357 Magnum or 9 millimeter switch cylinder capabilities, it has this on it. This is a hammer spur.
I love hammer spurs.
Hammer spurs are a bug. They are not a feature. But people think they're a feature. And the reason people think that they're a feature is because shooting a double action revolver is, you know, difficult. So they think, hey, this is a feature. I'm going to just pull this back and I'm going to get it into the single action mode. And then I'm going to have, on this, good Lord, that's a good trigger pull. Then I'm going to
I
have on
know.
this gun,
I
like,
want my gun to ship, Caleb.
this is
Make it ship
actually your
faster.
gun. Like, this is actually your gun, the one in
Oh,
my
yay.
hand. Um, so but here's the thing. Why are hammer spurs a bug and not a feature? The reason that they're a bug and not a feature is because they enable people to essentially, most people that shoot your DA revolvers in single action use the hammer spur as a crutch. And they use it as a crutch because the DA is hard. And they're like, well, I will just pull the hammer back, get an easy trigger press, and I won't do anything or take any steps to get better at shooting. I will just go the easy route. And we ended up on with hammer spurs on guns because of two things. One, the Colt single action army. That was the first thing. The preponderance of revolvers in the 1800s were single action. And that baked the idea of cocking the hammer and shooting the gun in single action into people's psyche, to the point that if you look at the grips and the hammers on early double action revolvers, the grips and the hammers are set up specifically to place the hand high on the gun so that you have easy access when shooting one handed, because that's how we did it in 1933.
Mhm.
When shooting one handed, to access the hammer spur, pull the hammer back, and press the trigger. In fact, I believe it's the NYPD pistol qual from like the 1930s has single action prone shooting at 50 yards, which is fucking bananas.
I
But
like it. I like that
I know
energy.
I love it. It's actually a fun qual
Love
to
that
shoot.
energy. Now
Because the
I will
target has
caveat I agree. It is a bug.
right.
It is not a feature. However, I do like for a couple of reasons. Number one is aesthetics, and that's the
Mm,
overriding reason. I like
I,
how it looks.
I
The
understand that,
second,
but you like
however,
how it
is
looks because
zeroing
you've been
sights.
trained. So you like how it looks because you've been trained to like how it looks. Like if no modern revolvers had hammer spurs, you wouldn't know
No,
that they were
no one
missing
would know.
aesthetically. And then as far as shooting groups or zeroing adjustable sights, some guns, certain Smith and Wessons, will produce a different point of impact when you shoot them single action versus if you just roll the trigger in DA. I've seen it. And that's because of the way the gun locks up and the way everything comes together when you're pulling it. And like, here's the thing: if you want to shoot
Did
your
not
guns,
know
and
that.
like,
TIF.
and here's the thing that I have come to accept, right? Like, and this was a lesson that we learned the hard way with the 856 executive grade because we built that gun for nerds when we built it, bobbed hammer and a bunch of other stuff. And the preponderance of consumers were like, I need a hammer spur. And so I have come to this place where I know that 90% of consumers want hammer spurs on their revolvers. I also know that 90% of those of consumers, the ones who want hammer spurs on their revolvers, they're wrong. They're wrong, and I will do everything I can, and I will stand athwart the tides of history and try to change that and educate everybody and get them to get rid of their hammer spurs. But I will never 100% accomplish that mission. And so, as long as I am doing my job correctly, I will sell you a gun with a hammer spur and I will take your freaking money because, gosh darn it, if that's what the market wants, then sometimes people deserve to
It
get what they want.
it comes down to the old adage of the customer is always right in
Even,
matters of taste. They're
yeah,
not correct
absolutely.
in a matter of function. They're not entitled to their own facts. But what they like is what they like.
Hmm.
They like hammer
Um,
spur. I'm one of those. I like hammer spur. I shoot double
yeah,
action revolvers in double action, but I still like hammer spur.
yeah. And if you want a hammer spur, that's fine. You can be wrong about it. And I just literally just said this to a guy on the internet, and like, and I'm sure he's going to come back with, "Oh, is that your official opinion as Taurus's marketing manager?" Yes,
Yes.
yes, it is.
Look, he's
It's
here,
been
guys.
my guys. It says Taurus on my shirt. My official opinion as an employee of the largest importer of revolvers in the world is hammer spurs are dumb and you shouldn't want them on your guns. But the other part of that opinion is if you want one, I will sell you one and I will do it with a great big ear to ear smile on my face because there is a rightness to the market that supersedes the technical rightness that I have, right? I am
Mhm.
technically correct and I am correct from a fundamentals and a technique and an employment and or in a utilization point of view. But if I sell 100,000 revolvers and 95,000 of them have hammer spurs because that's what the market wants, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that either.
Right. You go back down to in some ways it's semantics. It's like a bunch of people keep calling things clips and you're like they're magazines, but whatever. If I sell you a
Pussy.
hundred of them, fine, I'll sell you clips all day.
Exactly. I said, well, speaking of clips, I was out for a run the other day, and for the last 400 meters, I sprinted out like whatever I've got left in the tank, right? And I start up, and I didn't want to do it, and I'm very much one of those like talks to myself when I'm working out people, and I was like, let's go, empty the mother clip. And I laugh as I'm running because I'm like, if someone on the internet heard me say that, they would be like, "Oh, you mean empty the magazine?" To which I would reply, "You're morbidly obese. I'm running." Um, but anyway,
Mhm.
that's side. Those are like when your mind goes to the other place when you're working out. That would
Mhm.
be that's where I was at. I was in the other place. I was not present in my body, but let's come off this tangent and talk about something else. One of
I have
yours. Give me one
another
of
one
yours.
that has been fixed uh, on this as Caleb goes off screen, but I'll start talking about it.
Yeah, you can start
You'll
talking.
remember,
I'm
guys, The old M&P series especially had a feature where if you slammed the magazine inside this gun hard enough, the slide
Oh,
would
the auto forward.
the auto forward feature. It was a feature, right? No, guys, it was a bug. It it got through, it went into production, everything was golden. And yeah, it allowed you to do a super fast reload if you did it right. But if you did it wrong, your slide would drop on nothing, or it would half close, or any number of other issues. It would cause about 12 issues, and you could only ever get it right by like jamming this thing so far in, instead of just getting like a smooth magazine click in and then hitting the slide release or running the slide, in a proper manner that works, every time. You had to slam that thing in at Mog Jesus to get the slide to drop. And that wasn't a good thing. I like on the new 2.0s in the metal frames that they gotten rid of that. The slide release
Hmm.
now aggressively holds on to the slide. And I
As it
appreciate
should.
that, because that is the feature I want out of the slide lock. I want it to
Todd,
hold, and I want the release to release when I tell it to with my thumb.
Todd talked about that actually. Todd Lewis Green, for those who don't know who I'm talking about, he hated the auto forward on the M&Ps, and he was a known advocate of the M&P. To your point, because he's like, yeah, I can get it right 97% of the time, but that 3% of the time that it doesn't friggin' work, I don't have a round in the chamber, and I really, really want. And like whether you're shooting an IDPA match or in an actual shooting, and you do a emergency reload, you really, really want there to be a bullet there for when that slide goes forward, and be like,
Mm-hmm.
let's go. Um, that reminds me of one that is a really good. I don't know if it's a bug per se, but it's something that no one thought was a feature until marketing made it a feature. And that's the tactile reset on a striker fired pistol's trigger.
Right?
So, for people who are under the age of 35, I'm going to say, you have never lived in a world where a certain subset of consumers didn't care about what the reset on their striker fired pistol's trigger was. But when the Glock came out, one of the most brilliant marketing moves in the history of the gun industry, they took because the Glock has a very tactile, a very loud reset. They
Mm-hmm.
took that and they marketed as the feature. They're like, the gun lets you know when it's ready to shoot again with a tactile reset. Which I'm like, I'm pretty sure the fucking gun's ready to. Sorry, language. I'm pretty sure the gun's ready to shoot again because I let go of the trigger. But
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And we were
Um.
coming from an age of double action singles and
Mhm.
traditional double actions, where you just ran the trigger out and then ran it back again, then ran it out and
Yeah.
ran it back again.
Like the Beretta has, like the M9 has a tactile audible reset, but it's not like the Glocks where it's a very like pronounced
The
thing.
Glock is extremely obvious about it, which
And
it's
so
good. It gives you an
what that led
indicator.
to Yeah, what that led to was, so for those of you that are watching, I keep looking off camera because my office here at Taurus is a fishbowl, and people keep coming up to my door, which I have locked so that they will stop bothering me while I'm doing this. But I have a recording studio I could have used, but I didn't. Stupid. So
Mistake.
back to, yeah, a tactical error, if there ever was one. So hopefully that worked. Um, so what definitely was a bug that came about from the tactile reset of the Glock was the clickbang era of people who would ride the reset on their fired semi-automatic pistol, and that reset, feeling that gun go click, would be their permission to shoot again instead of looking at their sights and having that be their permission to shoot again. So
Mhm.
the clickbang era that was brought about by the marketing was definitely a bug. And I also remember like other striker fired pistols. The M&P, your M&P is what made me think of this. But you remember when the M&P first launched and people were like, I don't like the reset on this. And I'm, standing there, and I even said it. I was guilty of it because it was
Oh yeah,
2012 and we
I
were
did
all
it too. It's like,
idiots.
oh, the reset's not as good. And
Right.
like
There.
this is years. This is measurable years with the original M&Ps before I even knew how to run a trigger well, right?
Right. So
I
let me
did not know what I was talking about, but I was saying, yeah, I don't like the reset. No, I did not know how to run a trigger well enough in order to deliver that opinion at that time.
so let me just say this. I'll probably clip this into a soundbite for the episode, but in a defensive or action shooting firearm, the trigger reset is the least important feature on the gun. Like
Mhm.
it's less important than the size of the slide stop. It's less in, I
In,
can't
out, in,
I
out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out.
I can't think
As
of
long as you
anything
don't
that
slam your finger all the way outside the trigger guard and then back in, you'll be fine.
I damn near do that. If you guys ever have seen videos of me shooting, like if I go, I normally shoot wheel guns. There's a video of me shooting a very quick bill drill with a 1911, and
Mhm.
I come
All the way
completely off
off.
the trigger. Like I'm like hitting the front of the trigger guard off the trigger and then coming back on. And yet, as if by magic, I shot all alphas in like 2.3 seconds with a 45 ACP.
Mhm.
So trigger reset and how you reset the trigger is the least important part of defensive or action shooting. And Glock jacked up an entire generation of shooters with their extremely effective marketing about tactile audible
Tactile,
reset.
audible reset.
Tactile. Yeah, tactile audible reset. Get out of my face with that. I don't know.
Doesn't matter to me. Doesn't
That was a
matter
good
to
one. Oh man. God, what a
me.
time. It is funny like that as we have this conversation that I'm like, oh man, there's a entire the current entire generation of shooters that the people that are all younger than us and have never lived in a world where the reset of a striker fired pistol wasn't something that they probably thought about at least once or twice.
Mhm.
And I
It's
remember
been a marketable feature in my entire gun owning career, right?
that's
It's been a
nuts.
marketable, it's been something that you could point to because when I got into this, when I started, teaching, they were already on the third generation of Glock. So this was a like trigger reset was this well-established thing that you had to kind of care or worry about for some reason. They never got
I
to the reason you actually had to worry about it. You were just supposed to.
That might be the greatest marketing success in the history of the gun industry because they got everyone to care about the least important part of shooting.
Mhm.
Like it is because
You
it is
you
the
go to something
least
with a clean double action trigger and no reset, you're just gumming off of it. There's nothing there.
yeah,
You don't have to wait for an audible tactile reset. You just get off the trigger and start taking it again. That's what
when
you do. And
the
then
and I
on guns with like nice, sensory make the brain happy tactile resets, modern striker guns. When you run them fast, you don't know.
yeah. Well, hell, like back
I'm
in the
not riding to that reset. I'm off, I'm on, I'm off, I'm on, I'm off, I'm on, because I'm shooting something close and fast. I might be running the reset if I'm shooting 75 yards. I don't take a lot of those shots.
I'm pretty sure that Jeff Cooper wasn't concerned about the audible tactile reset in a 1911 when he invented the modern technique. He was just like reset the trigger and then shoot the gun again.
Mhm.
He was much more concerned about what happened after you let go of the trigger and pressed it firmly and pressed it straight back. And part of that reset thing does come from like yeah, when I shot bullseye and I shot precision pistol, yeah, because I am doing a slow fire shot, maybe I don't want to lose contact with the trigger face because we're talking about extremely minute areas of extremely minute
Any
margins of
motion can
error.
induce a miss, right?
Yeah,
Any excess
but
motion can induce that miss.
yeah,
And
but when you're talking
I
about
get it from
action
this
shoot,
standpoint. I get it from this standpoint too, is especially institutions love to have your finger ride way up here.
mhm,
Right? And people are in a race to get back to the frame when they're not done shooting.
mhm.
They're not done yet. They should be living in here because they're not done shooting. Um, but they're in a race to get back here because their institution says that this is safe.
Also, is that a steel frame MMP with an acro on it? Because that
It
goes
is.
hard.
It is. I love this gun. This gun's amazing.
Yeah, that goes pretty hard. Man,
Yep.
how I wonder why the M&P is not as much of the conversation as I mean the SIG P320. Talk about a today in things that are bugs that were sold to us as features. I present to you the SIG P320. I'm
The
kidding.
M17 M18 contract.
I'm kidding, guys. I promise you I will go one episode without ripping on the M18, but not this one because
Not
fuck
this
that
one.
gun. Anyway, continue. All right, what's your next one?
I'm out. What's your next
You're
one?
out. The Glock one was kind of my next one, and then that was. I mean, there's so many great examples of things that were, presented to us as features that maybe were unnecessary,
Mhm.
or things that weren't features that we did. Here's one. This is a thing that was not marketed as a feature, but is a feature to every end user ever, and that's slapping the bolt on an HK. Look,
Yes.
see,
Oh
HK
my
actually
gosh. Yeah.
says don't do this. Like they actually are like, please don't slap the bolts, and we're all
They're
like,
like, please don't.
no, what?
Do, do, do. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that is not a feature. It is actually that this is the I have one here. Here's the thing that is presented as a feature that in many cases is actually a bug, but I don't care because it's cool as hell anyways. And that's tactical lever action furniture. We've
Yeah.
talked about this. We have talked about this because you guys know that I prefer my lever actions svelte and wood and all of that stuff.
Old
But
school.
also
Classic.
Ranger Point gave me this stock and forend set that's woodland for the R95, and it goes so incredibly hard.
There's no
And
reason for it other than it's cool and I like it. And that's fine.
right, it and it
That's
and it,
fine.
it it makes me happy in certain parts of my body. So it's great. But like, and in a lot of cases, it is a bug, not a feature, because what you will see people do is they will put, so if I just put this furniture on the rifle, it doesn't really change the handling characteristics of the rifle, and the rifle's probably still fine.
Mhm.
If I put this furniture on the rifle and a D-ball and a weapon mounted light and a bunch of other stuff that makes my, 4.5 pound 30-30 suddenly very muzzle heavy and not nearly as nice to move around, then it becomes a bug. And I'm not even saying you shouldn't do that. You should do that. In fact, you should go to shopperossi.com right now and buy some Ranger Point Precision furniture for your R95 because it's actually pretty dope. But I still kind of think it's a bug because it's not.
It can we'll caveat that one. We'll put an asterisk there and said it can become a bug if you do certain things that
Yeah, for sure.
now make your job a lot harder. Like, look, I am actually a fan of the kind of semi-tactical lever gun concept, but I think you still need to keep it slick. There are two
Hmm.
types of guns I like to keep very slick, even if there are dots and lights on them. Those are AKs and those are lever guns.
Which
You
are
can put a
functionally the same
flashlight
thing,
and
right? Like
a
an
dot
AK
on
is
it, and you're fine.
like the AK is just the lever gun of assault
Of
rifles.
autoloaders, right?
Oh no, he said assault rifle.
Oh no,
Oh no,
assault
somebody will.
rifle. Oh no.
So, anyway, no, but like, and I
California
wouldn't
has
be.
entered the chat. They will be taking away Caleb for sins
I
again.
for saying
I don't
that
know.
saying a banned word. I do want to clarify something too. I really do love Ranger Point Precision. They are a great company to work with. They do make really high quality accessories. And I think that again, if you want like, and this is the same as the hammer spur thing for me, right?
Mhm.
Do I think you should do it? No, because I personally do not like it. Will I stop you from doing it? Absolutely not. Will I actively sell you the thing to do it if it's the thing that you want? I absolutely will, because
100%.
if you want to put Ranger Point Precision furniture on your gun and you think that makes your gun look cooler and that gives you the aesthetic that you want, let's go. Friggin' do it. And I mean, again, I'm going to put these on my gun because they're woodland and that's God's camouflage pattern. And we should do more things in woodland. So it
Yes, we
was,
should.
it's basically either put the woodland furniture on it or rattle can my gun, and I'm not that good with a can of spray paint. So woodland.
Yeah, I'm not against rattle canning my gun. I just know like the first one's going to turn out ugly, and I haven't picked which gun I'm willing to make really ugly as my test bed yet.
Yeah, I haven't decided which gun I want to destroy. And I also really do. Oh, you know what I should do actually? I should wait for future undisclosed R95 model and put this furniture on that one and uh Yeah. So, as you guys may have guessed, we're going to expand the R95 line on Rossi to other calibers. And I'm looking at one of the other calibers over there, and we already have 4570, but this caliber also starts with a four. So, just as like a thing to think about, it's over there in the office. And it's one of those moments where so I'm looking at like the paperwork that I would have to fill out if I wanted to take a marketing sample home with me, and I'm like, right now I think I'm the only manager in the building because our director of new products just left, so I would have to find another manager to co-sign. Fudge.
Hmm.
Right, maybe I won't take one home today, guys. You know what we should do though, and this is just a thought. Next time I'm down here, I should do I should do a live video. So here, let's get in the comments, because this is pretty much it for this episode. Thanks
We
everybody for
should, yeah,
liking,
we
sharing,
should do a live
subscribing.
video because
We
I
should
should
do a
go down
live. So in the comments or the emails or the Facebooks or the DMs or however it is that you people reach out to us, let us know if you would like us to do a live taping where we broadcast the episode live. We also record it so people can listen to it later, and what how you would like that to look. And also if you would like me to do a live walk around of the Taurus facility next time I'm down here and be like, this is so and so. Say hi, so and so. You're live on Gunday Brunch. Fun stuff like that. So let us know. Thank you everyone for liking, sharing, subscribing, following, posting. Obviously, the metrics have been down a little bit because we didn't do an episode for a couple of weeks, but they're starting to recover, and we really appreciate that. And thank you everyone for your kind words about Jack. That is, seeing those in the
we
comments and
we
seeing
really
the
appreciate it.
the support and the care that internet strangers had for him really means a lot to us. So thank you all for that. Thank you again, and thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.